Good morning, traders. Today's March 25th. It's Wednesday, and here's what's happening. So today we have at 8:30, which should have just passed the durable goods orders. Later in the day, around 10:30, we have PMI manufacturing numbers coming in. We have Fed speakers speaking all throughout the day, and if you've seen the news, it's good stuff. Though the war, they're trying to actually come to some sort of closure and agreement. Iran is pressing forward with trying to reach a settlement, and Trump is as well. So the Dow and the S&P are all up significantly overnight, and you can see the charts. Everything is hunky-dory across the board. Gold is up 3%, silver's up 5%, platinum's up 2.75%, Bitcoin's up 3% back to 71,000. It's holding that level. This is an important level for us to see. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the more detailed things, and we can step into it. Looking at the IWM, that's the Russell. You can see on the 30-minute chart, we're holding right above this support level, this line. I'd like to see it stay above 250, and we should be good. And then I would like to see a retracement back to 252. At the moment, we're at 251. We're at 251. So let's see if we can get a retracement back up to this 252.49 level on the 30-minute chart. And then let's go back to this. I'm going to restore this one. And let's pull up this chart so that we're going to go through things here. Okay, great. Now, let's take a look at the futures. So let's look at SPY. And so you could look at our levels on SPY. It's been respecting them so far. We held 650. We touched down to this 640, which I had called out that we would do. Bounced off of 650, held 650. We're at this 659 range at the moment. It's the bottom of this value area. I'd like to see it cross up to the top. But on the hourly, we're pretty high. So I think we have room, though, to go. I think we can even get to 662 if we're looking at the S&P. If we're looking at the MES directly, you could look for a level of 67.15 today as a high if we stay above the current price of around 66.55. So if we could hold this 66.55, I think then we have the potential to go up. If not, we retrace back down to this 66.21 or maybe more. So you can see we've been holding pretty well the last few days in between this range. We're following this heartbeat. So I expect us to get back up to here again to 6,700 today. And then possibly, if not, then we could reject. But if not, we'll continue back going up. I don't see that the stimulation from news cycles like this really move the markets necessarily continuously. They give us pops and then we drop or whatever. So let's see if we can continue that. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ has a very similar picture. Again, on the hourly chart, it didn't break out of the channel number 2 that I have labeled. It broke out of channel 1, which is a nice thing. It came up to this level here and stopped. So we're at 24.4439 right now, which it looks like we pulled back a little bit from the high that we initially received. Just zooming in, if I look at the 15-minute chart, again, you can see here a little bit better. 24.7 seems to be the top if we don't hold here where we are in the 24,400 range. If not, we could easily slip back down. Let's look at the Dow. The Dow has a more intense story. It bounced off of 47 and it did not break over 47,000. Now it pulled back a little bit and it's heading back up again. I see that we could reach 47,000 again, If we break above 47,000, there's blue skies above us, and you can see we could get up to like 47 2 or even 47.5. But if not, the value area where you could see the most traffic has been is in this area. So it's very easy for us to retrace back down to this 46,482 level, or perhaps even lower, where you can see there's a value area. It's like a magnet. It'll pull traffic down there. Just zooming out real quick, you could see we've made quite a move. We've had this trend move down, but we have not broken the trend move up yet. And that's my concern. So if we look at the NASDAQ, same thing. And if we look at the S&P, again, we've not broken this channel out. So I'm a little concerned. I'd like to see it start to turn around first. I'd like to see, when I'm looking at my 4-hour, that the channel 1 is green at least. At least on the 1-hour, it's green. So that's a good sign. But you could see on the 1-hour, a green sign doesn't mean that it goes past these channels. So that's what I'm looking for in the S&P. We did the Russell, the S&P, the NASDAQ. Let's take a look back at my chart and see if there's anything else you want to look at. Well, let's look up Bitcoin just to see how Bitcoin's been behaving. And Bitcoin is holding here. It's at the 71,000 level. It does not look like it's ready to cross up and above yet. We're at the top of this value area. In my channel, it's more likely to recede to the bottom of the channel than it is to go back up to the top. So I would not be a buyer here. And in fact, I would likely reduce position if I was playing Bitcoin. But I'm holding it long term, so no change for me. So I don't have a trade here on Bitcoin today. Not yet. But look at this chart. We zoomed out to the 4-hour, and you can see very clearly, if we break above this like 72,000 level, there's a big gap here. And that gap, if we fill it, will happen pretty fast. So it'll move through this gap pretty quickly. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see a move up and through this gap, back up. And if you see that, then I think we're up for the curl back home, you know? So I think that's it. Let's look at Solana real quick. Solana has a very similar track record. You could see, again, value area down here, big gap, and then room for the green skies above. All right, let's look at copper real quick. Now, copper is an interesting one, and the reason why I bring up copper is because there is a need for industrial use for copper wires, copper pipes, copper cooling in AI data centers. You need copper. It's an industrial tool. It is a commodity, but it is also in demand, and there's not always enough of it. So I don't like this trend. We're on a downtrend on the 4-hour. We have not broken out of this downtrend on the 4-hour. On the 1-hour, let's see if we've got a breakout. So we've got some break here. You could see we at the 555 level. Right now we're at 5.528. So we have room to go up a little bit to touch the top again to see if we can break through. Not buying here. I'd like to see it either break through this gap or fall back down. The way I see it and the way I would play this is a longer game, and that is, this is a dip buy. You buy in this area of the dip and just wait for it to come back up to the top here. So that's my plan with copper. It's a dip, wait, hold situation, and I'm using proxies like Freeport-McMoRan. Which you could see the chart looks very, very similar, and is up at 58 today. So I'd like to see Freeport-McMoRan come back to the 68 level and continue from there. Another one is ERO. They're also a copper miner. Again, you can see the channels doing the same sort of thing. You had a long trend for the year, a short pullback, for the month or two, and now we're ready to go back up. And that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so now that's a look at some of the indexes. We can take a look closer at silver, gold. Let's take a look at silver and gold. So silver, on the daily, you can see it's a very similar trend as copper. Let's take a look at gold while we're looking at the larger trends. Again, very similar chart as silver and copper. And I'm assuming platinum is going to look, oh yeah, look at that. It looks the same. Okay, so now that we had our fun, let's look a little closer at the action. And we can see here that you have value gaps, we have trends, and we're trying to reverse the trend out. So we touched off of the bottom here. We have this downward flag sort of going for months. It's a months long flag, which means that if this breaks out of the flag, it's months long to continue going back up. And that's what I'm looking for. So we bounced off of 4,100. We're in the 4,500s now. I'd like to see us get back up here. There is this big gap again. Look, mind the gap right here. So we might have a little gap up. Then there's resistance at this 4,900 level. So I would like to see it go up to this 4,900 and hold. If it can do that, then there's potential for it to reverse out and continue on its way. And let's see a little closer look. So today you could see we've got this stair stepping going on, and it does look like it wants to get up to this higher levels. So gold is looking pretty good. Actually, it's not bad here because at 45, 43 where we are, you could see there's a Fibonacci support. We're at the bottom of a value area, and the trend is up. I think this would be a good buy over here, even though it's already up 3%. You never know. Silver's like that. Gold is like that, and silver's like that. It can just move. Again, look at that with silver. It's at the top of this value area, which gives me a little bit of concern. But there is the gap over here, which we could take advantage of in traveling back up, right? And you can see that I marked out some levels here, and it tends to observe these levels. We're observing the Fibonacci's, and we're observing some of these price levels that we've done in the past as well. But remember, if we can get out of that hole, this looks like a really good opportunity. But for the moment, we are still in a downtrend. And that's how I'm going to treat this until I see the break of the trend. So that's it. Let's take a look at the next thing, boys and girls. We can take a look at oil. And today's story is all about oil. So let's see. And oil is looking crazy. So if you look at the 4-hour chart, we've been on this downtrend, making oil cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. The war happens, we get this big spike, and now we're trying to figure out where we belong price-wise. So it looks like price has settled at around $88 a barrel. Down yesterday, it was around 91 or higher. So I'm glad that we're coming back down. We have this big gap, which it could fill if it does decide to pull back after the war, but I don't think we're there yet. I think we're more likely to see oil pull back a little bit more, maybe down to even the much lower 80s, and then I think we go back up again. I don't think the story is over. So, depending on the time frame of your trade is how you're going to plan it. I've zoomed into the 15-minute level, and we're just straight down. We're on a downtrend. If you bought at the bottom of the value area, you could ride it back up to the top in the trend, but the trend is still down regardless. So I think we're down on oil, but I'm not sure that we're ready to break through this support and fall further. All right. Let's take a look at some watch lists. And so that watch list doesn't build until later today. I'm going to bring up, these are some stocks that I've been watching, and in general, you can get an idea. Green is good, red is bad. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just that it's not in the best place in the world. You can see in the 52-week range, a lot of the assets are in mixed. Either they're below this 70% range, in the 70 to 90% range, or 90 and above. 90 and above, I consider them a little bit risky, although they have a good trend. In the 70 to 90 range, that's where I find that they have a lot of potential to continue reversing, going back up. Below that level, well, now you're just looking for a complete reversal and you're holding your breath. So these are gambles. These are trends. These are trends that have already been going on. And that's the way I look at it. And you can see these are overbought. Uh, excuse me, that's kitty allergies. Okay. But you could see also as well, I have the listing of which assets are below the 5,200 level. Um, Below the 5,200 level, we generally consider them in a negative territory. So if they were in positive and they cross below, that's what you're looking for. Opposite is if they're already in the strongly negative territory and you want to buy them, that might be a good place to buy them, right? So that's what we're looking for there. Let's take a look at some of the Mag 7s and just get an idea of what's going on today. We'll start out with Amazon. Amazon is up to 210 overnight, and you can see it's at the top of its value area at 210. There is a bit of a gap here. It could potentially go up another couple points. Um, the uh, the overall wave is mildly neutral, I would say. We're just going sideways, it looks like. So you can see we've been going sideways for this period of time. I would love to see it break out and go back up above 220 and get back up to the 250s again. I think it will. It's just a matter of news cycles. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla's on a bit on a downtrend as well. It's reversed out. It bounced off of this support, this long support. So if I zoom out on the weekly, you can see we've held this support for the last 3 years. I'd like to see us continue holding this support and coming back up to the additional trend. We are below the lines though, so that's the concern, right? Um, on my hourly chart, we point to about 400 as a target. So let's look at 400 as a target. I like where we are with Tesla, and I think this is a potential reversal. So I'm along. I hold Tesla long, just to be transparent. Let's see what Nvidia did overnight. It's up a couple dollars. Similar story. I don't like that it really hasn't broken above the 178 level. I feel like that's been a resistance level for Nvidia. If it can break above 178, then it can get back up to the 184s, and that would be a better place for it to be. If it doesn't, then we're looking at it retracing back down to the bottom of 174. So that's of course one of the things you really gotta worry about. Um, let's take a look at Micron, the chip maker, because I think memory is important, and they've been going up lately. Instead, today they went down $10, so that's really surprising. That's really surprising. Now, let's see if Taiwan Semi is doing anything similar. No, Taiwan Semi's up. So I'm not really sure what's going on with Micron. I have to take a look a little closer. But there's no trade in Micron right now because it's going down. Taiwan Semi's up. It's at the top of the value area. I would not be a buyer here as well, but I do like the company. So, if you can get it around 335, I think that's a better entry than it is here. And I don't think the story is done. Now, on the other hand, Tower Semiconductor is up 7 points overnight. Look how wonderful this trend has been. We've gotten 3 weeks of straight up trend on this, and my channels are still pointing positive on the hourly, with up to a 10% upside, 13% upside on the third channel. It's just a little unlikely, but I mean that's where it's heading. It's heading up. We're looking even on channel one another 3% on the hourly, so that's pretty good. But we are pretty hot if you look at the 4 hour, and I'm starting to get warning signs here on this channel 3. Let's see, what else do we want to take a look at today? Let's take a look at the indexes real quick, and you can see we have some bullishness in XLB, XLC. Um, it's a different story than yesterday, much different story than yesterday. XLE is still on this upward trend. I took some profit yesterday on XLE. I feel like we were high, and it pulled back a little bit overnight, so not terrible. I'm not hating that. But you can see that construction XLB materials, that it's up about $1. I'm looking for it to continue. You can see the value area. It's ready to go up to about 50. So that might be a nice little trade there. XLP, if it can close this gap, look at that gap between 81 and 84, that would be a really nice trade as well. If not, we might go down to about 80, the 80.86 level again. Looking at industrials are up mildly, about $1 overnight. I would have liked to see a big pop there on rebuilding. And you see there's a lot of room above XLI to go up between 166 and you got between 169, I'd say, somewhere around here, 168, 64. There's a gap, but it could then just continue up to the 170s. It might be a little bit slower. Utilities have gotten beat up because of gas prices. So if we can get a control on gas prices, utilities come back. And look at that gap. It's like lining up, ready to jump up and get to this higher level of the value area of 47. So we're at 45. We can get up to 47 easily. Healthcare, we've gotten so beat up in healthcare. We're at 145, 144. I have as a strong support. We had a little dividend that came in, and I think we can get back to the 150s on healthcare very easily. It's just a matter of a little bit of time and some news cycles, because we haven't had the best news with healthcare. Financials, they're doing what financials do. Financials are holding pretty steady. They're at 49.50, 49.70, let's say. And I think that they have the potential to continue going up if the day goes up. But if not, they could revert back down to about the 49.30. You can see they have a little bit of a magnet there on the hourly. If we look at technology pulled up a little bit, but we haven't been really breaking out of that level. Again, 138 is the top. We're right now at 137, which is my bottom. I think we can continue. If we don't hold here, then we continue going down to 136 on technology. And don't forget XLK. The big holder there is Nvidia, so that's the big basket there. And we looked at Nvidia. It's going to tell us what the rest of the market's going to do, basically. And I think if we look at XLY, again, very similar story. Downtrend, hasn't broken the uptrend, did bounce off of this lower support. I think we have potential to run back up to 114. We're at 111 right now. Real estate, very similar. I don't like that we're underneath the trend line here, but we are towards the lower end of this value area at 40. And I think we have the potential to come up to 41. Not a huge move, but that's what's there. And that's a look at the indexes and sectors this morning. It gives you an idea of where I think we might be going. Thank you and have a wonderful day trading. Good luck. I'm ESP. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and share with your friends. Thanks. Have a great day.